Hello and welcome to This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. On this week's presentation, we focus on the activities of Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa as it relates to the advancement of agriculture across the country. Focus this week has been on the concerns raised by rice farmers across the country as it relates to the price they're receiving at the mills. We know that a ton of paddy supplied to the mill earlier this year was being purchased at $70,000 a ton. The millers then dropped it to $65,000 and then later on to $61,000. Of course, the farmers were having none of it. They protested. The minister has been meeting both farmers and millers. Millers had promised here in Berbice that they would hold the paddy price at $65,000 per ton for grade A plus, and that, of course, that promise was not kept. The very next day, the price dropped to $61,000. Now, Minister has continued his engagements with the millers. There was a meeting on Tuesday last, which suppliers of fertilizer met with government with a view to them selecting someone who will provide fertilizer at a reasonable cost. I'm hearing a figure like $6,000 a bag of fertilizer is now being retailed at $9,000 or $10,000 thereabouts. So, input costs across the board have been going up, and the millers are saying they want to drop the price per bag of paddy or per ton supply to them. Not understanding, of course, that this will not sit well with rice farmers. So Minister has been meeting with the farmers of Essequibo in Region 2. He went there twice in recent times, again this past week, because the millers there, and the farmers there have also decided that they want $5,000 a bag for it to make sense. But what they want and what is possible. The market prices are not set by government. This is a private arrangement between millers and farmers. The millers extend credit to rice farmers at the beginning of a crop, and whatever inputs they supply, they deduct from whatever is paid to the farmer at the end of the crop. So, sometimes the farmer may walk away with very little, especially if the price nosedives as it has for this crop. And, Minister has been trying to engage with all stakeholders in order to see a way of mitigating against these rising costs of inputs. Generally, cost of producing rice has risen sharply in the past 2 weeks or so due to the global crisis being caused by the war in the Ukraine. So there has been some good coming out of those engagements with the stakeholders of the rice sector. So we'll be hearing all about that in this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture. We will be back after these messages.
Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture.
The Ministry of Agriculture advises that persons desirous of importing animal products, such as meats, must first acquire a permit and/or no objection to do so from the Guyana Livestock Development Authority (GLDA). Prospective importers must fill out an application for import license form. This must be handed in to GLDA along with a quotation from the supplier of the products to be imported, as well as a certificate of origin of the commodity. Meat and meat products must be from approved countries, and in cases where this is not so, then that country must apply directly to the GLDA for a permission to export to Guyana. In this case, a risk assessment is then conducted by the GLDA in association with the Veterinary Public Health Unit of the Ministry of Health. At the time of the application to GLDA, the importer must also indicate his or her interest in this regard to the Veterinary Public Health Unit, which plays a critical role in determining whether the license to import will be granted or not. If the import is allowed, the importer is notified by the GLDA. A fee is payable before the permit is prepared and issued to the importer. It should be noted that meat or meat products imported without an import license will be seized and destroyed. For more information on this and other issues, contact the GLDA head office on 220-6556 or email glda1910@gmail.com. Visit our Facebook page and leave a comment.
Over the last 10 years, seed treatment has been proven to be very effective in protecting rice plants from damage by early season pests such as water weevils, leaf miners, and caterpillars. This protection can last for up to 30 days. In so doing, it allows for better establishment of the rice plants and later no bare spots in the field. Seed treatment also negates the need for using harmful pesticides during the first 30 days of the crop and therefore allows the buildup of beneficial insects such as the ladybird beetle, damselflies, dragonflies, and spiders, which will later prove useful against paddy bugs at every stage of their life cycle. Seed treatment involves the application of piperonyl at 20% soluble concentrate in a spray can to germinated seed. The mix is 1 liter of piperonyl to 2.5 gallons of water to treat 10 120-pound bags of paddy. This can be done manually as seen here. The seed is spread on a level surface and the chemical applied using a spray can. It is then turned and sprayed a few times until the farmer is satisfied that he has achieved complete wetting of his seed paddy. Treated seed paddy is then covered and allowed to be incubated or pressed for the normal 36 to 48 hours. Then it is ready for sowing. It should be noted that in treating the seed, farmers applying the pesticide should wear the appropriate protective gear as seen here to protect against the harmful effects of the chemical on the skin or if inhaled.
From 2010, since I started my seed treatment, that's when I started and I've continued. I've never stopped because I've seen the benefit of seed treatment. And I've seen increased yield, I've seen production better because it actually gives you 35 to 40 days that you don't have to go back into the field and do any kind of a pesticide control because that actually helps you. So farmers, I'm advising you and I'm giving you that advice because I've been doing this since 2010 and I'd like to see farmers benefit also from these 6 points.
Seed treatment is a critical step in the realization of higher yield. If you have not yet adopted this practice, try it this crop. A message from the GRDB, Ministry of Agriculture. In October 2016, the Kigali Amendment was adopted by all parties to the Montreal Protocol. This included Guyana. The Kigali Amendment brings the future production and the consumption of refrigeration gases under the Montreal Protocol through the phase-out of these ozone-depleting substances and their replacement with substances that are more environmentally friendly. To this end, the Hydromet Service has begun local preparations for Guyana's ratification and eventual compliance with the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. This will require legislative interventions, consultations with all stakeholders and the public at large about what changes will have to be made locally over the next few years. These consultations will begin shortly and will be advertised on all print and broadcast media platforms as well as on social media. For more information, visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture. It was a busy week for Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa as he sought to allay the fears and concerns of rice farmers over the rising cost of production, fueled in the first place by the pandemic and in the past month by the war in Ukraine. The messages of assurance was consistent. Government was working on a menu of measures to rein in the runaway cost of production affecting not only rice farmers, but all aspects of the Guyanese economy. Despite assurances by millers that prices per ton of A-grade paddy would be maintained at $65,000 in Berbice, millers further dropped the price per ton within hours of the minister's assurances to $61,000. During an engagement with rice farmers at Philadelphia in Region 3, the Agriculture Minister told farmers that government is cognizant of the challenges being faced by rising costs of inputs, and efforts are being made to mitigate against the continued increases in cost of these commodities. But he urged that residents and farmers look to the big picture, to look beyond the immediate challenges they are facing to the opportunities that are there for the taking, if they were to just put their shoulders to the wheel and produce with those opportunities in mind. Speaking to the issue of clogged drainage and irrigation channels and bad dams, Minister Mustafa said those will be immediately tackled by his ministry.
Guyana, you the farmers will have to play an important role. And I agree that we will have to put the necessary infrastructure in place so that you can produce. Make those infrastructure available to you. We heard a number of infrastructure that needed to be fixed. And I want to tell you, first of all, I want to pronounce on this, that all the dams that are in a deplorable state, I will ensure that those dams are fixed. I know you will say, and I heard it already before I came here, that you will say that the weather is against us now, right? But it's never too late to fix it. Let us don't debate and be pessimistic. Let us be optimistic, and we will fix the dams. I want to make that commitment. We will fix all the dams. But we will do a program, and we will fix it in order of priority so that people who have to use it urgently will have the use of those dams. Also, those areas that we have clogged canals, I just asked the engineer to do a program for me, and I'll be looking at that program to see how we can deploy machinery. Because there are a number of machinery in Region 3 that have been doing work over time. And in our budget this year too, in our budget this year, we have a number of capital projects that is in our budget that will be happening in Region 3.
The Agriculture Minister also assured the West Demerara farmers that in an effort to avoid any issues relative to grading of paddy at the mills this crop, he has assigned officers of the GRDB to be present at each mill to ensure that there is fairness in the process.
I think that this year, 2022, the total amount of acreage under cultivation was just over 17,000. And I know rice or paddy start to harvested already, almost close to about 160 acres have already been harvested. I don't think that we had any grading problem for this crop started, but I want to rest you. I want you, the farmers, and GRDB now, they will work along with you to have a person there to look at the interests of the farmers when the grading is being done, so that you can get your grade that you deserve. So nobody will come and cover and say that this grade is, well, where is A grade, you get in C. Or when it's C grade, you get in the, you don't get a proper grade and you get less money for it. Last crop when I was in, I believe in the Essequibo Coast, farmers raised this concern with me. And experienced people will tell you that before time you had the farmer organization working to deal with those grading problems. I have since instructed GRDB that every single mill in this country must have a person to look at the interests of the farmers in terms of grading their paddy. So I am hoping, and I will ensure that we give our number also to the farmers. So if you don't get a fair deal, you will make contact with us. I will ensure that GRDB come here on a regular basis to visit. We have here the quality control manager. She will ensure that she puts system in place to get your grade get a proper grade for you.
Responding to calls by farmers for government to intervene in the price per ton being offered to them by millers, the Agriculture Minister explained that this is not within the purview of government at this time.
As we heard just now, the price for paddy, we don't have a controlled price. What we have been doing as a ministry and government, I have been trying at utmost to get maximum price for the farmers. I've had a number of meetings with the rice millers. As a matter of fact, they haven't indicated yet for Region 3 how much they will purchase paddy for, but they will not purchase less than the last crop. I think the last crop was $3,800 a bag, right? But let us hope that we get a fair deal. But the point I am trying to say is that we don't have a control price to fix. And also, we know we have to reduce the cost of production. That is why when we took over in August 2020, we looked at the costs. And when the previous government would have increased land rental and D&I charges by almost 6,000%, from $3,500 to $15,000, when that money, $11,500, more they increase it by. We said when we get back into government, we'll reduce that cost. And indeed, we have reduced that. We took a motion to the Parliament to reduce that. And we have reduced every acreage, every acre that farmers cultivate now, they are paying $11,500 less. That money becomes disposable income in the pocket of the farmers. We have reduced, or we have taken away, or we took out the VAT on agriculture machinery and agriculture input. So the 14% VAT, the sister just said that she needs the VAT to come off of certain other items. Well, we'll have to make that representation to the Ministry of Finance. She mentioned one ATV. But the number of inputs in the agriculture sector, we have taken out the VAT on it. We have reduced a number of fees because from 2015 to 2020, they had increased fees by 200%. What we have done, we have reduced back those fees to the original sum prior to 2015 when we were in government. So all these inputs, all these interventions that we have made it in the interest of the farmers. But there are certain things beyond our control. And let us look at fertilizer. Today, fertilizer price is skyrocketed. Or the entire world we have seen for fertilizer price skyrocketed. I was on a roundtable discussion today with ECA. Even the Secretary for Agriculture from the United States, he was one of the panelists. And he is complaining the cost of fertilizer. Imagine that, the great United States, because they import a lot of fertilizer into the United States. And poor country like us, we know you, the farmers. You are paying $10,000, $11,000 a bag for fertilizer. But we haven't been sitting down, waiting for things to happen. We have been reaching out. We have been negotiating with various partners that we want a reduction in the cost of fertilizers. And we are working. Yesterday only we issued a letter of interest to a potential supplier. And he said that when he brings his fertilizer to this country, it might cost about $7,000. Right? So we are trying on all fronts. Next week we will be meeting with another bilateral partner to look at it. The quality of the fertilizer, I have instructed, and I know this is going on. I don't know the comrade, somebody raised the issue about poor quality. I believe this comrade with the red. I have to ask the Pesticide and Toxic Control Board to give me a report on this. Because those persons who would have brought in fertilizer we have the records, and they will have to know the quality of the fertilizer. And if that is so, we'll have to deal with it.
The minister assured farmers that the ministry is fully equipped to ensure that the quality of fertilizer arriving in the country is of the highest standard, so as to ensure value for money, a responsibility that falls under the purview of the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board, PTCCB. Residents of the Barnwell, Philadelphia area in Region 3 were also assured by the Agriculture Minister that a contract valued some $500 million had already been signed for the construction of a pump station in the area, work in which will begin shortly. Following protest action by rice farmers of Region 2 who were demanding $5,000 per bag of paddy, Minister Mustafa traveled to the Cinderella County for a meeting with the disgruntled farmers. He assured the farmers that through the engagements with potential suppliers of fertilizer, he is optimistic that cost per bag of fertilizer will be no more than $7,000 on the Essequibo coast come next crop.
But what we have done, we have been trying our utmost to discuss with our bilateral partners to get these fertilizer cheap. We were not able to get it for the last crop or this crop that you are reaping, but I am optimistic because only 2 days ago, we issued a letter to a potential importer to bring this up, the fertilizer, and he's saying that when the fertilizer lands in Guyana and he distributes it, it will cost maximum. Like when you purchase it in Region 2, $7,000, right? $7,000. But sometimes, comrades, you might not know what we're doing. We're trying our utmost to ensure that you, the farmers, receive it. You don't think that the president is not concerned? You don't think that the vice president will come next week? He told me just now, he will meet with the rice farmers too. But the point I am trying to make that we have been trying our utmost to get it, but when you look at the market demand, you are seeing there are certain forces that we can't change and certain things that we can't change. That is why we as a ministry and a government have been meeting with the rice miller. I had them 3 hours 2 weeks ago. What we have done also to help to cushion the costs, to help them to give you all more money for the paddy. We reduced the president, they met with the president sometime last year. The president reduced the commission that we charge in the rice miller, the exporter, by $2 US. We informed GRA to reduce the scanning fee for containers by 50%. We are looking to work with the rice miller now to help them to get wharfage facility, because they told us that the freight cost is heavy on them, and when they go to the wharf, they have to wait until other cargoes are loaded. So we have been working with them to use the facility at the Demerara Sugar Terminal. Hopefully in a matter of weeks, we can get that facility ready and they can export their paddy from there.
Rice farmers on the Essequibo coast were assured that through government's engagements with the millers have agreed to pay farmers $3,700 per bag of extra A-grade paddy. The minister also disclosed that the millers have also agreed to offer a retroactive increase to those farmers who have already sold their paddy to them for $3,200 and $3,500 over the past few weeks. But speaking to the general state of affairs in the sector, the Agriculture Minister stressed the importance of farmers working closely with government to reduce their overall cost of production, while at the same time ensuring that their agronomic practices ensure that their production and productivity is maximized.
So I was saying, we also have to look at the cost of production. We have to try as much as possible to bring down the cost. That's a heavy, although we would have really reduced land rental and DNI charges. There are some farmers who are renting land to run race some other farmers and increase the rental fees. And that add up to your cost of production. So if the land is being rented for $20,000, another farmer will go and pay $10,000 more, $30,000. And it's going up all the time. So whereas we're trying to reduce the cost of production, because we already knew that the fertilizer price would have sent up the cost high, we already knew that the cost is heavy already, we're adding more burdens. And when we get the produce now, the cost is more to produce it than when you sell it. So we have to work together. That is why every single day, the GRDB Rice Research Station, they are looking to improve variety. They are looking to see how we can improve yield. Because if they 1 acre you used to cut 30 bags of paddy or 25 bags of paddy, and this crop you get 30 bags of paddy or 35 bags of paddy, that will help you. Because you'll get more paddy from that 1 acre. So I'm just saying what we have to do too. Because the long term, this is not a short-term thing, the rice industry. Let me be very frank with you. The rice industry is very important to our country. And as a government, I want to make this commitment that we will always support the farmers and the workers of our country. That's the philosophy. That's in our manifesto. That is why when we took over government 18 months ago, we tried to put measures in place so that we can ease the burden. We can ease the burden.
Government has committed to assisting coconut farmers across the country in their efforts at expanding their cultivations. This help will come through the clearing of vegetation and digging of internal drainage and irrigation channels. Farmers can also expect help in the form of technical support through NARI and the Hope Estate. Further, coconut seedling nurseries have been established in various regions as part of a decentralization program for nurseries. Coconut seedlings are now available. These are the 5, 3, and 18-month varieties. Farmers are reminded that the recommended number of trees per acre is 50. Persons interested in purchasing seedlings may make contact with Hope Estate on telephone number 663-2709. Once the booking is made, seedlings can be picked up from a nursery nearest you. A message from the management of Hope Estate, Ministry of Agriculture. In October 2016, the Kigali Amendment was adopted by all parties to the Montreal Protocol. This included Guyana. The Kigali Amendment brings the future production and the consumption of refrigeration gases under the Montreal Protocol through the phase-out of these ozone-depleting substances and their replacement with substances that are more environmentally friendly. To this end, the Hydromet Service has begun local preparations for Guyana's ratification and eventual compliance with the requirements of the Kigali Amendment. This will require legislative interventions, consultations with all stakeholders and the public at large about what changes will have to be made locally over the next few years. These consultations will begin shortly and will be advertised on all print and broadcast media platforms as well as on social media. For more information, visit the Hydromet website at hydromet.gov.gy. A message from the Hydromet Service, Ministry of Agriculture.
Well, that's all the time we have on this week's edition of This Week in Agriculture, a presentation of the Communications Unit, Ministry of Agriculture. I'm your producer and host, Christopher Holder. This Week in Agriculture is produced for television by Matrix Video Productions and Advertising based in East Berbice. Until next time then, be good to yourselves and to each other.